The fluorescent lights buzzed like angry hornets in the empty hallway of Elmwood High, casting jagged shadows that danced across the lockers like accusations. Ben slammed his fist into the metal door, the echo ringing out sharper than the slur that had just been hurled at him, freak, by the pack of jocks who'd cornered him after algebra. Blood trickled from his split lip, warm and metallic, mixing with the hot sting of tears he refused to let fall, because crying would only make it worse, make him the punchline for another viral Snapchat story. He didn't hear the footsteps at first, soft, deliberate, like someone who knew how to navigate the minefield of teenage wreckage, until a shadow fell over him, broad and unyielding. Benjamin, came the voice, low and steady as the Mississippi on a calm day. That's not how this ends. Ben froze, his breath catching in his throat like a hook in barbed wire. He wiped his mouth with the back of his hand, smearing red across his knuckles, and turned slowly to face the man who'd spoken. Mr. Hale, Michael Hale, the new English teacher who'd transferred in from Chicago just last fall, stood there in his rumpled button-down, sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms etched with faint tattoos that whispered of a life beyond grading essays on The Great Gatsby. His eyes, a stormy blue that could pin you in place or pull you under, held no pity, just a quiet fury that mirrored Ben's own. "Go away, Mr. Hale," Ben muttered, his voice cracking like dry earth under boot heels. He leaned against the locker, trying to look tougher than the skinny frame that betrayed him, 5'10" on a good day, with hair that fell in unruly waves over eyes the color of faded denim. Elmwood, Ohio, wasn't kind to boys like him, the ones who stared too long at the curve of a teammate's jaw in the locker room or sketched secret portraits of classmates in the margins of their notebooks. "I don't need another lecture on resilience or whatever bullshit you're peddling this week." Michael didn't budge. He crossed his arms, the fabric of his shirt straining against shoulders honed from weekend runs along the Scioto River. "This isn't a lecture, kid. It's a reckoning." He glanced down the hall, where the distant slam of the gym doors signaled the football team's exodus, their laughter a fading thunder. "Those assholes think they're untouchable because daddy's on the school board or the mayor's got their backs. But you're tougher than all of them combined. Come on, nurse's office. Now." Ben wanted to bolt, to vanish into the crisp October air outside, where the maple trees blazed red like warnings ignored. But something in Michael's tone, the way it wrapped around his name like a lifeline, made his feet move. They walked in silence, the linoleum squeaking under their shoes, past faded posters for the homecoming dance and the GSA Club's plea for allies that no one heeded. Elmwood High was a relic of Reagan-era glory, all brick and budget cuts, where queerness was whispered about like a communicable disease. In the nurse's office, a sterile box of Band-Aids and expired ibuprofen, Michael perched on the exam table while Ben dabbed antiseptic on his lip. The older man watched him with an intensity that made Ben's stomach twist. Not in fear, but in that forbidden flutter he'd learned to bury deep. "Why do you care?" Ben finally asked, avoiding those eyes. "You're the hotshot from the big city. You could pick any kid to play White Knight." Michael chuckled, a low rumble that echoed off the cabinets. "Hotshot? Try Survivor." He leaned back, his gaze drifting to the window where the football field stretched out like a battlefield. "I was you, Ben. Back in a nowhere town in Indiana. Got my ass kicked so bad I spent a week in the hospital. Teachers looked the other way. Said it was boys being boys. But one guy, a coach, pulled me aside after and said, 'You're not alone.' Changed everything." He paused, his jaw tightening. I teach English because words can be weapons or shields. And right now, you need a shield. Ben's hand stilled on the cotton swab. The air between them thickened, charged like the moments before a Midwest storm. He wanted to ask what happened next for that kid in Indiana. If the coach became more than a mentor, if the pain ever dulled to something bearable. But the bell rang, shrill and insistent, shattering the bubble. "Thanks," Ben mumbled, sliding off the table. "But shields break." "Not if you swing back," Michael replied, his smile crooked and knowing. As Ben slipped out, he felt those blue eyes on his back, a warmth that chased the chill from his bones. For the first time in years, the hallway didn't feel like a gauntlet. The weeks that followed blurred into a tentative rhythm. Ben started lingering after class, ostensibly to discuss metaphors in Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men, but really to bask in the way Michael dissected loneliness with the precision of a surgeon. The classroom, with its creaky desks and walls papered in student haikus, became a sanctuary. Michael would pace, his voice rising and falling like jazz from a smoky Chicago club, quoting Whitman, "I am large, I contain multitudes," and Ben, scribbling notes, would steal glances at the way light caught the silver flecks in Michael's stubble, wondering if multitudes included the ache of unspoken desire. One rainy Thursday, as thunder rattled the windows, Ben stayed late again. The school emptied out, leaving only the hum of vending machines and the patter of drops on the roof. "You ever feel like you're drowning in plain sight?" Ben blurted, his pencil snapping in his grip. The essay on his desk, about George and Lenny's doomed brotherhood, lay unfinished, a metaphor too close to home. Michael set down his red pen, leaning against the desk with that effortless grace that made Ben's pulse stutter. "Every damn day when I was your age." He hesitated, then pulled a chair close, the scrape of wood on floor like a confession. "My dad was a preacher. Fire and brimstone type. When he found out I liked boys. Well, let's just say conversion therapy was his love language." His laugh was bitter, laced with old scars. "Ran away at 17. Landed in the Windy City, scraping by as a barista while auditing classes at community college. But it taught me, secrets are heavier than lies." Ben's throat tightened. He thought of his own secrets, the hidden Grindr app on his phone, deleted a dozen times, the Polaroids of Michael tucked under his mattress, snapped from afar during pep rallies. "How do you carry it? The hiding." "You don't hide forever," Michael said softly, his hand brushing Ben's shoulder in a touch that lingered a beat too long. Electricity sparked, undeniable, and Ben's breath hitched. Michael's eyes darkened, a storm brewing. "Sometimes, you find someone worth the risk." The rain pounded harder, drowning out the world. Ben leaned in, heart hammering like a freight train, and Michael's fingers cupped his jaw, gentle, reverent. Their lips met in a kiss that tasted of salt and salvation, tentative at first, then fierce, as if they'd both been starving. Ben's hands fisted in Michael's shirt, pulling him closer, the desk edge digging into his thigh like a reminder of lines crossed. It was messy, urgent, born of too many stolen glances and unspoken hurts. When they broke apart, gasping, Michael's forehead rested against Ben's. We can't. Not here. Not like this." "I know," Ben whispered, but the lie hung between them, sweet and poisonous. In Elmwood, where the river ran slow and secrets festered like summer algae, "can't" was just another word for inevitable. As autumn deepened, Their stolen moments multiplied like contraband. Late-night texts disguised as homework queries. Discuss the symbolism of light in Morrison's Beloved. Evolved into meetups at the old mill by the river, where the water churned secrets of its own. Michael would arrive first, thermos of coffee in hand, his truck's headlights cutting through the fog like beacons. They'd sit on the tailgate, shoulders brushing, talking about everything and nothing. Ben's dream of art school in New York, Michael's unpublished novel gathering dust in a drawer, the way prejudice wrapped around small towns like kudzu. One crisp November evening, under a sky bruised purple, Ben sketched Michael's profile by flashlight, charcoal smudging his fingers like bruises. "You're beautiful," he murmured, the word slipping out unguarded. Michael turned, capturing Ben's hand, thumb tracing the lifeline on his palm. "So are you. Fierce. Unbroken." He kissed Ben then, slow and deep, hands roaming with a tenderness that unraveled Ben thread by thread. They tumbled into the truck bed, hay bales from Michael's farmside pickup cushioning them, the world narrowing to the press of bodies and the rhythm of breaths sinking like a heartbeat. It was more than lust, it was communion, two outcasts forging a fragile world where touch wasn't treason. But fragility invites fracture. Whispers started in the cafeteria line. "Saw Hale's truck by the mill last night. Kid's always in his room after hours." Ben felt the eyes, the sidelong glances from Jake Harlan, the quarterback with a grudge as old as freshman year. When Ben had turned down his joke invite to prom as a dare. Michael noticed too, his lessons sharpening with veiled warnings from Auden's September 1st, 1939 "We must love one another or die." Of hours. His touches grew cautious, laced with regret. "This town's a powder keg." Ben. One spark. "I'm not afraid," Ben lied, even as fear coiled in his gut like barbed wire. "You should be," Michael replied, his voice a gravel whisper. "For both of us." Winter clamped down on Elmwood like a vice, snow blanketing the fields in deceptive purity, hiding the rot beneath. Homecoming had come and gone in a haze of forced smiles, and Ben dodging Jake's crew in the parking lot. But the real storm brewed in the shadows of the boiler room, where rumors fermented into something venomous. Ben's locker was vandalized one Monday morning. FAG, scrawled in red marker, the letters bleeding like wounds. He scrubbed it clean before homeroom, but the damage lingered, a scarlet stain on his resolve. Michael pulled him aside that afternoon, during free period in the library's forgotten stacks, where dust motes danced like fireflies in the slanted light. "We need to cool it," he said, voice low, eyes scanning the aisles like a fugitive. "Just for a bit. Until the heat dies down." Ben's chest caved, a hollow ache spreading like frostbite. "Cool it? Like I'm some hookup you regret." The words lashed out sharper than intended, born of the terror that this, Michael's steady presence, the way he made Ben feel seen, was the closest he'd ever come to home. Michael winced, reaching for him, but Ben jerked back, knocking a cart of returns askew. Books tumbled, Faulkner's Absalom, splaying open like a gutted fish. "That's not it. And you know it." Michael's whisper was fierce, laced with the desperation of a man who'd built walls only to watch them crumble. "I love you, Ben. God help me, I do. But if this gets out, they won't just fire me, they'll destroy you. Transfer you to that reform school across the county line. Label you a predator in training. Love." The word hung there, luminous and lethal, illuminating every stolen kiss, every midnight confession by the river. Ben's anger fractured, tears pricking hot. Then fight for us. Like you said, words as shields. Michael's hand found his, squeezing until knuckles whitened. I am. But shields aren't enough against pitchforks. He pulled Ben into a shadowed alcove, their embrace hidden by towering shelves of forgotten tomes, lips meeting in a kiss that tasted of goodbye. It was brief, bruising, promise etched in urgency. They parted with a plan, distance in public, connection in code. Ben's sketches became their cipher. Notes slipped into Michael's mailbox, drawings of intertwined hands or rivers merging, metaphors for the pull they couldn't deny. Michael responded with dog-eared pages from his favorite queer poets. O'Hara's Having a Coke with You, underlined. I look at you and I would rather look at you than all the portraits in the world. But plans unravel in small towns, where boredom breeds betrayal. It started with Sarah Klein, the cheer captain with a crush on Michael that soured into spite when he rebuffed her advances. She tailed Ben one snowy evening, spotting his silhouette slipping into Michael's truck at the edge of town. By Friday, the whispers had metastasized into a group chat. Screenshots of blurry photos, Jake's caption, teacher's pet or teacher's bitch, racking up reactions like ammunition. Ben confronted her in the girls' bathroom during lunch, the air thick with perfume and malice. You saw nothing, he hissed, cornering her by the sinks, his voice a blade honed by months of Michael's tutelage. Sarah's laugh was brittle, her ponytail swinging like a pendulum. Oh, I saw plenty. Benny boy. Mister. Hale's got a type, desperate and deluded. Tell you what, keep your mouth shut about Pep Squad drama, and maybe I delete the pics. Her eyes gleamed, a serpent in suburban plaid. Betrayal's first cut is the deepest, but Ben swallowed it, nodding through gritted teeth. He didn't tell Michael, not yet. Instead, he doubled down, attending GSA meetings he'd once mocked, standing awkwardly as freshmen debated rainbow flags. It was armor, thin but defiant, and in the fluorescent glow of the clubroom, he met eyes with others like him, quiet Theo with his poetry zine, fierce Lena who'd inked Queer and Here on her backpack. For the first time, Ben felt the stirrings of a tribe. Michael noticed the shift, his pride evident in the subtle tilt of his smile during class. After school, in the empty auditorium where stage lights hummed like distant stars, he cornered Ben backstage amid dusty curtains and forgotten props. You're glowing, he murmured, backing Ben against a flat painted like a New York skyline, a ironic echo of dreams deferred. What's the spark? Ben hesitated, the weight of Sarah's threat pressing like a stone. Just realizing I'm not the only freak in this circus. He pulled Michael close, hands framing his face, thumbs tracing the laugh lines that deepened when he read aloud. Their kiss ignited slow, building to a blaze that fogged the air, bodies pressing in a dance as old as desire. Michael's hands slipped under Ben's sweater, mapping ribs and scars with reverence, whispering, "You're no freak. You're my miracle." They made love there, on a prop bed from last year's Midsummer Night's Dream, the irony not lost, fairies and folly mirroring their own enchanted peril. It was tender, exploratory, Ben's inexperience met with Michael's patience, each touch a verse in an unfinished epic. Afterward, tangled in sheets that smelled of mothballs and promise, Ben confessed the photos, the blackmail, his voice muffled against Michael's chest. Rage flickered in those blue eyes, but Michael banked it, holding Ben tighter. We'll handle it. Together, he kissed Ben's temple, a vow sealed in sweat and starlight. No more hiding. Not from this. But hiding was Elmwood's native tongue, and the next betrayal struck like lightning. Jake, emboldened by Sarah's leaks, escalated during gym class. A prank dodgeball game that left Ben sprawled on the mat, ribs cracked from a hurled orb laced with malice. Coach blew the whistle half-heartedly, muttering about accidents, while the class snickered. Ben limped to the locker room, vision blurring, only to find his phone buzzing with a school-wide email. Anonymous tip to the principal, attaching the mill photos, time-stamped and damning. By dismissal, the halls buzzed with sirens, figurative, but no less shrill. Principal Hargrove, a bull of a man with a mustache like a broom bristle, hauled Michael into his office, the door slamming like Judgment Day. Ben waited outside, heart pounding, eavesdropping on fragments, inappropriate conduct. Minor involved. Suspension pending investigation. When Michael emerged, face ashen, he didn't look at Ben. "Go home," he said, voice flat as Ohio plains. "Don't come near me," the words eviscerated, worse than any slur. Ben fled to the river, snow melting into slush under his boots, and hurled rocks into the current until his arm ached. Betrayal layered upon betrayal, Sarah's spite, Jake's violence, and now Michael's retreat, a shield turned sword. He didn't see the figure watching from the treeline. Theo, GSA's quiet sentinel, who slipped away to text an ally chain that would ignite the powder keg. That night, curled in his childhood bed with posters of Basquiat peeling at the edges, Ben scrolled through the chat logs exploding on his phone. Hailgate trended locally, vitriol from alums and parents. Groomer, disgrace to our values. But threaded through were sparks of solidarity. Lena's rally cry, a Chicago prof offering legal aid to Michael. And one anonymous post, time-stamped midnight, "The secret isn't Hales. It's Elmwood's. Remember Tommy Reese? They buried him to save face." Tommy Reese. The name jolted Ben like a live wire. A senior 3 years back, who'd hanged himself in the attic of the old gym after relentless torment. Official story, tragic accident, mental health issues, but whispers lingered, of slurs carved into his truck. A suicide note the board misplaced. Ben's hands shook as he Googled, piecing fragments. A buried Reddit thread, a journalist's half-finished exposé quashed by threats. Dawn broke gray and unforgiving, snow turning to sleet that lashed the windows like accusations. Ben dressed in layers, jeans stiff with cold, his leather jacket a talisman, and biked to school through streets slick as lies. The parking lot swarmed with news vans, Elmwood's 15 minutes thrust under spotlights it had long evaded. Protesters clashed at the gates. Rainbow flags waving against crosses hoisted high, chants of love wins, drowned by "Protect Our Kids." Inside, chaos reigned. Lockers taped with warnings. Teachers herded into the auditorium for an emergency assembly. Ben slipped in late, hood up, sliding into a back row beside Theo, whose eyes held grim determination. On stage, Hargrove blustered, microphone feedback screeching like a banshee. "This is a personnel matter. Mr. Hale has been placed on leave. We stand for safety." "Bullshit." Lena surged from the front, megaphone in hand, her voice amplified and unyielding. "Safety? Like for Tommy Reese? You covered that up." Gasps rippled, a domino of shock. Hargrove's face purpled. "Young lady, sit down." "No." Ben stood, heart thundering, Michael's words echoing. "Swing back. Tommy was bullied to death because he was gay. You called it an accident, to keep donations rolling from the church crowd. And now you're doing it again, throwing Mr. Hale under the bus to hide your own failures. The auditorium erupted, a cacophony of cheers and jeers. Jake lunged from his seat, but Theo blocked him, a wiry barrier of resolve. Security swarmed, but Ben held the stage, voice cracking but unbroken. Ben Hale didn't groom anyone. He saved me. He showed me I'm not broken, you are. Your town, your school, your secrets. From the wings, a figure emerged. Michael, not in leave but in defiance. Suit jacket shed. Tie askew. His eyes locked on Ben's, pride and pain warring in that blue expanse. He's right, Michael said, seizing the mic from a stunned Hargrove. The room hushed, a collective inhale. Elmwood's secret isn't mine. It's yours. Tommy Reese didn't kill himself in isolation. He was failed by counselors who looked away, by a board that shredded his note begging for help, by a community that preached love but practiced exile. Murmurs swelled to outrage as Michael unspooled the thread. Leaked emails he'd obtained from an old contact, detailing the cover-up, the principal's directive to minimize publicity, the payout to Tommy's family for silence. Flashbulbs popped from the press corral, reporters scribbling furiously. Sarah shrank in her seat, Jake's bravado crumbling under parental glares. Ben stepped to Michael's side, their hands brushing in the glare, a touch electric, public, unapologetic. We contain multitudes, Ben said, voice steady now, echoing Whitman. And we're done hiding. The assembly dissolved into pandemonium, walkouts in solidarity, Hargrove frog-marched by trustees, ambulances for fainting board members. Outside, snow fell softer, blanketing the melee in tentative peace. Michael pulled Ben aside in the emptying hall, their breaths mingling in the chill. You were magnificent, he whispered, forehead to Ben's. My brave, brilliant boy. The fallout cascaded like a Midwest flood, relentless and reshaping everything in its path. By week's end, Elmwood High was a ghost town of yellow tape and headlines, small town scandal, teacher exposes cover-up in gay teen suicide. National outlets descended, CNN panels debating queer erasure in Heartland schools. The New York Times profiling Ben as the voice that broke the silence. But glory's glare is double-edged, and Ben felt its cut in the dead-of-night calls from reporters camping his block. The hate mail stuffed in his locker like poisoned valentines. Go back to the city, sinner. Michael vanished into administrative limbo, his apartment above the hardware store a fortress under siege. Ben biked there under cover of dusk, dodging news vans like landmines, heart a war drum. The door opened on a man hollowed by exhaustion, stubble shadowing his jaw, eyes ringed with the purple of sleepless vigils. You shouldn't be here, Michael rasped, but he pulled Ben inside anyway, the door clicking shut like a vow renewed. The space was a writer's den, bookshelves groaning under Baldwin and Wolfe, a desk littered with legal pads scrawled in frantic script. They collapsed onto the sagging couch, Ben's head pillowed on Michael's thigh, fingers tracing the denim seam as if mapping a return route. They suspended you, Ben said, not a question. But you're not fired. Not yet. Michael's hand combed through Ben's hair, gentle as absolution. Investigation's ongoing. Union rep says it's 50-50 hero or heretic, depending on the spin. He sighed, the sound heavy with the weight of what-ifs. I meant what I said up there. About Tommy. Dug it up last summer, after hearing the whispers. Thought it'd make a chapter in that damn novel. Never dreamed it'd blow up like this. Ben twisted to meet his gaze. vulnerability raw. You saved me. From them. From myself. He rose on elbows, lips brushing Michael's knee in a kiss featherlight. Let me save you back. Desire reignited, banked but not extinguished, flaring in the dim lamplight. Michael's hands framed Ben's face, thumbs sweeping cheeks flushed with purpose. Their kiss was a reclamation, slow and searing, tongues tracing apologies and affirmations. Clothes shed in a trail to the bedroom, a narrow space with a quilt from his Indiana childhood. Ironies layered like sedimentary rock. They moved with the intimacy of survivors. Michael's body a landscape Ben knew by heart, the freckles dusting his collarbone like constellations, the scar on his hip from that long-ago beating. It was worship, unhurried, Ben's mouth exploring the hollow of Michael's throat, eliciting gasps that bordered on prayer. Michael's fingers guiding, teaching, until Ben arched under him, the world dissolving to friction and fervor. Release came in waves, crashing and cathartic, leaving them entwined, sweat slick and spent, whispers weaving through the afterglow. I love you, repeated like a mantra against the storm. Morning brought no reprieve. A knock shattered the fragile peace. Detectives from the county sheriff's office, badges glinting like accusations. Mr. Hale, we need to ask about your relationship with Benjamin Whitaker. Ben, hastily dressed, hovered in the kitchenette, eavesdropping as Michael stonewalled with lawyerly poise. Anything beyond professional is private. But if you're fishing for scandal, look to the board skeletons first. They left with warnings and warrants, the air turning acrid with threat. Ben paced, fury coiling. They can't touch us. Not after the assembly. Michael's laugh was wry, pulling him into an embrace that smelled of coffee and courage. They'll try. Always do when the mask slips. He cupped Ben's chin. Eyes fierce. But we've got allies now. That journalist from the Times? She's running a follow-up on Tommy's family. And the GSA's planning a march, your march. Ben's march. The words landed like a crown, heavy but hallowed. Over the next days, he threw himself into it, channeling rage into rainbow flyers plastered on every lamppost from the river to the rail yard. Theo handled logistics, his zine morphing into a newsletter exposing more dirt. The counselor's log fudged to downplay Tommy's pleas, the football coach's jokes that normalized hate. Lena choreographed chants. No more secrets. No more shame. Her energy infectious, pulling even skeptical straights into the fold. Rehearsals in the park became Ben's lifeline, snow melting to mud under stomping feet, laughter cutting the chill. Michael snuck in once, incognito in a beanie and scarf, his presence a thrill that made Ben's signs shake. They stole a moment behind the gazebo, hands linking under coats, breaths clouding in the cold. Proud of you, Michael murmured, nipping Ben's earlobe. My revolutionary. The night before the march, doubt crept in like fog off the Scioto. Ben dreamed of Tommy, a spectral boy with hollow eyes, swinging from rafters in the gym, whispering, "Too late for me." He woke sweating, Michael's arm slung heavy across his waist, the older man's snores a anchor. "Can't sleep," Michael mumbled, stirring. "Nightmare," Ben admitted, turning into him. "What if this changes nothing? Jake's still captain, Sarah's still queen bee. They win because they always do." Michael propped on an elbow, silhouette silvered by streetlight. "They win if we let them. But look at you, 18 in 2 weeks. Art portfolio thicker than my regrets. You're leaving this shithole for Pratt or RISD, painting truths they can't erase." His kiss was salt-tinged, deepening to distraction. And I'll be right there, cheering from the sidelines. Or the bedroom. Laughter bubbled through Ben's fear, easing the knot. They made love again, lazy and loving, the quilt tangling around limbs like fate's loose threads. Afterward, Michael's fingers traced Ben's spine. Voice soft, "Whatever happens tomorrow, know this, you woke something in me. Made me believe in happy endings again." Dawn broke clear, skies a defiant blue. The march swelled beyond expectations, 500 strong, from townies to transplants, snaking from the high school to the town square where the mayor's office loomed like a courthouse of complicity. Ben led, megaphone in hand, voice amplified over drums and chants. "Tommy Reese, Ben Hale, no more graves for our loves." Banners fluttered, Elmwood Hearts Queers, sketched by Ben himself, bold lines cutting through the gray. Counter-protesters lined the sidewalks, crosses aloft, but their numbers dwindled under the tide of cameras and cheers. Jake watched from his porch, arms crossed, expression unreadable, perhaps the first crack in his armor. Sarah filmed it all for TikTok, her caption a hesitant maybe ally. At the square, Hargrove awaited on the steps, flanked by suits from the district. Microphones thrust forward. He cleared his throat, mustache twitching. Elmwood regrets the pain caused by past oversights. Effective immediately, full transparency on the Reese case. And Mr. Hale reinstated with back pay. Applause thundered, but Ben's eyes sought Michael, weaving through the crowd in a fresh button-down, smile radiant. Their hands met in the crush, fingers lacing, a public claiming that drew whoops and whistles. "We did it," Ben breathed, pulling him close for a kiss that tasted of victory and vindication. "Not we," Michael corrected, nuzzling his temple. "You. My catalyst." But victory's aftertaste is bittersweet. That evening, as confetti swirled in the square's fountain, a call came, Tommy's mother, voice quavering over the line. "Thank you for giving my boy a voice." Ben hung up, tears streaming, collapsing into Michael's arms amid the revelry. Joy and grief tangled, a human knot, reminding them, healing isn't linear, but it's possible. Spring unfurled tentative, dogwoods blooming pink against the scars. Ben's 18th birthday passed in a blur of cake and canvases. Michael's gift a leather-bound journal inscribed, "To my muse, write our story." School resumed warped. Jake transferred out. Sarah apologized in GSA, her remorse raw as fresh ink. Michael taught with renewed fire, lessons laced with queer canon. Arundhati Roy, Ocean Vuong, voices that echoed Ben's sketches now adorning the halls. Their love deepened roots, no longer clandestine but cautious, blooming in plain sight. Brunch at the diner where waitresses winked, weekend hikes where hands swung free. Yet shadows lingered, the board's lawsuit threats, the detective's lingering file. One humid June night, as fireflies pulsed in the backyard, Michael broached it over beers on the porch swing. Offer from a school in Ann Arbor. Better pay, progressive as hell. They want me for fall. Ben's beer paused mid-sip, heart a stutter. And me, you graduate next month. Apply to UMS art program. We start fresh, no ghosts. Michael's eyes searched. Vulnerable. If you want. Ben set his bottle down, straddling Michael's lap, the swing creaking under their weight. Want? I need. Their kiss sealed it. Hungry and hopeful, bodies aligning in the firefly glow. It was a pledge, to futures intertwined, to loving loud in a world that once demanded silence. Summer scorched Elmwood into submission, asphalt shimmering like mirages of escape, fireflies winking promises as Ben packed boxes in his sweltering attic bedroom. Acceptance letters piled on the dresser, Pratt, RISD, but UMS envelope, postmarked and Arbor, held the real magic. Full ride for illustration, proximity to Michael a bonus scripted by stars. His mom, a diner waitress with calloused hands and a heart softened by Ben's coming out, hugged him fierce over pancakes. Proud of you, kiddo. For fighting. For being you. Dad was trickier truck driver, Budweiser loyalist, whose grunts masked a slow-thaw post-scandal. Don't let the city chew you up, he muttered at the going-away barbecue, clapping Ben's shoulder with uncharacteristic gentleness. Jake's absence loomed. Rumors said he'd enrolled in military prep, a redirection or redemption unclear. Sarah volunteered at the new youth center, her TikToks now pride posts, amends in pixels. Michael's truck idled curbside that last July dawn, U-Haul hitched like a faithful steed. Ben tossed his duffel in the bed, sketchpad under arm, and slid into shotgun, the cab smelling of pine air freshener and possibility. Road trip playlist? Michael grinned, keying the ignition. Only if it includes Springsteen, Ben quipped, leaning for a kiss that lingered through the first verse of Thunder Road. They peeled out, Elmwood shrinking in the rearview, a patchwork of fields and faults, the river glinting farewell. And Arbor welcomed them with collegiate bustle. Tree-lined paths thrumming with bikes and banjos, coffee shops spilling laughter onto sidewalks. Michael's new gig at Huron High started with fanfare. The whistleblower lit teacher, kids dubbed him, hanging on tales of Steinbeck and scandal. Ben crashed dorm life at his freshman seminar on graphic memoirs a playground for exorcising Elmwood's ghosts. Nights, they converged at Michael's Craftsman Rental, a gingerbread house on a street of professors and pot smoke, where suppers devolved into slow dances in the kitchen, Coltrane on the turntable. Love, unfettered, flowered extravagant. Weekends at the Arboretum, Ben sketching Michael's profile amid maples turning crimson early, charcoal capturing the way sunlight gilded his lashes. You're my favorite subject, Ben teased, nipping his earlobe. Michael's retort was a growl, tumbling them into leaf litter, hands greedy under flannel. Then study me. Their lovemaking was poetry in motion. Lazy Sundays tangled in sheets, urgent Tuesdays against the shower tile, each union a stanza affirming survival. But scars itch in new skin. Ben's first exhibit, a series on hidden currents, portraits of Tommy and himself layered with river motifs, drew campus buzz but triggered nightmares. He'd wake gasping, Michael's arms a harbor. Breathe with me, love. In, out, like the waves. Michael fared better outwardly, but Ben caught the flinches. Emails from Elmwood alums demanding firings. A bar fight with a drunk vet slurring pedophile. One October Eve, post-parent-teacher night, he stormed home, slamming cabinets till Ben intervened. Talk, Ben demanded, blocking the whiskey. It's nothing, Michael evaded, but his eyes betrayed the lie, haunted, like the boy from Indiana. Bullshit. Ben pulled him to the couch, knees knocking. We're past secrets. Remember, Michael deflated, head in hands. Got a call today. Tommy's dad wants to meet. Says the expose reopened wounds, but thanks us too. Doesn't know how to square it. He looked up. What if I'm just stirring pain? What if love's not enough to fix the breaks? Ben straddled him, hands framing that beloved face. It won't fix, but it heals. Their kiss was balm, deepening to devotion, clothes shedding like old skins. Michael yielded, vulnerable, Ben's touches mapping reassurance, lips on collarbone, fingers coaxing sighs. It was healing, holy, release a sacrament washing doubt away. Winter quartered them in domestic bliss. Holiday lights strung on the porch, Ben's mom visiting with pie and tentative questions about that nice mister. Hail. Spring brought Ben's tattoo, a river fork inking his forearm, Michael's matching on his bicep, linked in permanence. Yet conflict shadowed, insidious. A letter arrived in May, postmarked Columbus, subpoena from Elmwood's lingering suit, alleging Michael's inducement of minor despite Ben's age. They won't quit, Michael seethed, crumpling it. Dragging us back to testify, dredging the dirt. Ben's blood boiled, but strategy won. Let M. Will testify, truth as weapon. They lawyered up, a fierce queer advocate from Detroit, prepping in the dining room amid takeout tie and timelines. Rehearsals unearthed ghosts. Ben recounting the beating, Michael the cover-up docs. Intimacy wove through tension post-session. They'd retreat to bed. Bodies a refuge. Whispers fortifying. Together, the hearing convened in a stuffy county courthouse. Oak benches groaning under spectators. Reporters, activists, Elmwood holdouts glaring daggers. Hargrove testified first, mustache quivering. Mr. Hale exploited his position. Objection. Their lawyer pounced, introducing Ben's notarized affidavit. Consensual, post-majority. Hale was mentor, then partner. Gasps rippled as Ben took the stand, voice steady under fluorescent glare. He didn't pray. He protected. Exposed your failures. Tommy's death on your hands, not his heart. Michael followed, unflinching. I loved Benjamin. Still do. And I'd reveal every secret again to save one kid from what I endured. His testimony unspooled evidence, emails, witness statements from GSA, painting Elmwood's rot vivid. Cross-examination turned vicious. The prosecutor, a silver-haired hawk, probing intimate relations with a student in school hours. Michael met his stare. Off hours. Always. But love doesn't punch a clock. Ben's hand trembled under the table, pride swelling. The judge, a no-nonsense woman with pride pinned discreet on her robe, recessed with a gavel crack. Verdict dropped 2 weeks later. Suit dismissed. Sanctions on the board for frivolous litigation. Cheers erupted in their lawyer's office. Champagne popped amid hugs. Outside, rain slicked the streets, but Ben and Michael walked home arm in arm, umbrellas forgotten. Free, Ben breathed, spinning under drops. Finally, Michael agreed, pulling him close for a rain-lashed kiss, passers-by whooping. It was cathartic, cleansing. The last chain snapped. Summer again, but transformed. Ben's internship at a Detroit gallery honed his edge, canvases of queer resilience fetching bids. Michael's novel, River Secrets, sold to a indie press. Dedication. For B, my current, my confluence. They vacationed the Upper Peninsula, cabin by Lake Superior where waves roared approval. Days hiking bluffs, nights by firelight, Ben reading chapters aloud, Michael's head in lap, fingers toying with belt loops till stories yielded to skin. One star-strewn midnight, on a blanket by the shore, Michael knelt, ring glinting, a simple band, engraved with Whitman, I am he that walks with the tender and growing night. Marry me? He asked, voice gravel rough. Not for show. For us. Ben's yes was a sob, tackle hug toppling them into sand, laughter mingling with waves. Their lovemaking was epic, elemental salt and stars, bodies ebbing and flowing till dawn pinked the horizon. Fall semester loomed, but now as fiancés, rings subtle under cuffs. Ben's mom cried happy tears at the news. Even Dad sent a card. Congrats, son. Drive safe up there. Elmwood faded to footnote. Theo's updates sporadic, new principal, GSA funded, Jake writing letters from basic training, owning his shit. Yet humanity's arc bends slow. A package arrived unannounced. Tommy's yearbook, mailed anonymous, pages dog-eared to his photo, smiling, unaware. Inside, a note, from his sister. Keep fighting. Ben traced the image, tears salting the gloss. Michael wrapped around him from behind, chin on shoulder. We will. For him. For all. Years folded like pages in a well-loved book, each chapter richer for the creases. Ben and Michael wed in a lakeside ceremony, and Arbor Spring, dogwoods in bloom, Theo officiating with rye vows, Lena DJing Springsteen remixes. Ben's suit hugged his frame, now filled out by studio hours and home-cooked lasagnas. Michael's tux tailored sharp, eyes crinkling at I do, like the first time he'd said Ben's name. Honeymoon in Provincetown. Salt air and whale watches. Nights in a B&B where the bed creaked symphonies. Ben sketched the dunes. Michael's form etched against crashing surf. They made love with windows flung wide. Ocean chorus to their gasps. My forever, Michael murmured post-climax, tracing Ben's ring. No more outcasts. Back home. Life-layered domestic poetry. Ben's first solo show, Confluences, sold out at the DIA. Critics praising raw humanism in queer Americana. Michael chaired the English department, his class's incubators for young voices, syllabus heavy on Baldwin seminars. They adopted a mutt named Whitman, walks along the Huron where hands swung free, wedding bands catching sun. But trials temper joy. Ben's fertility dreams surfaced in quiet pangs. Surrogacy consults yielding hope laced with cost. Michael's novel sequel stalled. Imposter syndrome whispering old Indiana ghosts. A call from Elmwood shattered a dinner. Tommy's sister, now activist, inviting them to a memorial unveiling. Town's ready, she said. Because of you. They debated over wine. Ben's fork paused mid-bite. Salt in the wound? Or closure? Michael countered, foot hooking Ben's under table. We go. We honor. Show healing's possible. Elmwood greeted them changed. Rainbow crosswalks, GSA banners on the marquee. The gym attic, once tomb, now bore a plaque, Tommy Reese Memorial, Love Endures, unveiled amid tears and torches. Ben spoke, voice steady, Tommy's story isn't tragedy's end. It's our beginning. Michael followed, arm around Ben's waist. Secrets kill. Truth liberates. After, at a diner booth sticky with nostalgia, Jake approached, broader now, uniform crisp. Sirs, he said, hat in hands. I was shit. To you, to him. Therapy helped. Just sorry. His exit left ghosts lighter. Homebound, they debriefed in bed, bodies curling instinctive. You were poetry, Ben whispered, lips on Michael's neck. You were pulse. Michael's hand dipped low, eliciting moans that built to crescendo. Release a reaffirmation. Decades wove onward. Ben's gallery in Detroit thrived. Murals gracing pride parades. Michael's tenure yielded a memoir. Oprah's book club nod. Kids came via surrogacy, twins, Ellie and River, towheads with Ben's eyes and Michael's mischief. Family hikes echoed their early trails. Little hands in theirs. Stories of Daddy Ben's brave fight bedtime lore. Age silvered them gracefully. Ben's hair a salt pepper wave. Sketches now digital but soul deep. Michael's stubble fully gray. Voice richer for gravel. Retirement found them in a cottage by the lake. Porch swing their throne. One golden September, as leaves turned, Ben proposed a road trip, Thunder Road looping endless. They drove, windows down, stopping at diners for pie and memories. In Ohio, they detoured Elmwood, school renamed Reeshale High, a wing for queer studies. "Look what we built," Michael said, hand on Ben's knee. "You built," Ben corrected. "I just swung the hammer." Nights in motel rooms. Their lovemaking softened but no less sacred, slow explorations. Laughter at creaky joints. Climaxes whispered reveries. "Still my miracle," Michael breathed. Post-glow. "Always your freak," Ben teased, nuzzling close. Autumn deepened, but a shadow crept. Michael's cough, persistent. Doctor's orders for scans. Diagnosis dropped like autumn frost. Lung cancer, stage 3. Treatable but tenacious. Ben's world tilted. Sketches abandoned for hospital vigils. Hands holding through chemo drips. Fights flared. Ben's overprotectiveness clashing Michael's stubbornness. "I'm not glass. Damn it." But love's glue held. Fortified by twins' visits. Theo's care packages of pot brownies. Remission flickered spring-like. But summer brought relapse. Hospice whispers. On the porch swing. One dusk painted lavender. Michael leaned into Ben. Oxygen tank humming soft. "No regrets," he rasped. Fingers laced eternal. "None." Ben's voice cracked. Tears salting beard. "You revealed me. All of me." Michael's smile crooked. Eternal. "And you. My secret joy." His breath slowed. Hand slackening. But Ben held on. Whispering poems till stars wheeled overhead. Grief hollowed Ben. A riverbed dry. But humanity's current refilled slow. Twins rallied. Gallery tributes poured. Murals of Michael. Blue-eyed guardian. Ben taught workshops. Voice steady. Love's not loss. It's legacy. Years later, at the cottage, Ben sketched by firelight. Michael's profile. Timeless. Ellie, grown artist, curled beside. "Tell me again, Dad, how you met." Ben smiled. Charcoal whispering. Fluorescence buzzed like hornets. He said, "That's not how this ends." And it wasn't. The end? Open. Like a river to see human. Ticking. Radiant. For in revealing secrets, they unearthed grace. Two men. Outcast no more. Whose love bent the world just a little toward light.